Sonic is far from new to being a copycat. The reason for his creation was to be a rival to Mario in the first place. It's what began the whole console war debate before Sony joined the party. However, since then the Hedgehog and Plumber have been on good terms, mostly. I mean, they shared a spin-off franchise for a while. We missed my sweet child. And Sonic was even in Smash Bros. So I think it's safe to say that the two former rivals are now on good terms. And apart from making subpar games that range from incredible fan favorites to pieces of garbage that everyone collectively agreed to forget, he steered away from controversy. Well, except for one minor factor that not a lot of people seem to notice, but is blatantly obvious when you think about it for more than a few seconds. What would you say is the opposite of Sonic? Well, my first answer would have to be The Legend of Zelda. The game seemed to take a slower pace than Sonic, obviously. Plus, instead of mindlessly speeding your way through obstacles and paths, which, don't get me wrong, is a ton of fun, but I prefer the time you spend thinking about how you progress. Observing your current situation to determine what the next course of action is way more fun and satisfying than gotta go fast. Now, it may seem like I'm dunking on Sonic right now, and for the rest of this video, but trust me when I say that they were one of my favorite games ever. So take what I ever say with a grain of salt. I do not hate these games. With that said, it's hard to deny that Sonic, while being pretty much the opposite of Zelda in almost every way, seems to take a lot of elements from those games and implement them into its own. And despite being on good terms with Nintendo and even having a Zelda-themed level in Sonic Lost World, they still tend to take a lot of inspiration, quote-unquote, from their blockbuster franchise. And in this video, I want to go through all the instances that I'm aware of where Sonic has taken features from the Zelda series to use for himself. And what better way to start that off than where it pretty much all began. So I'm sure you know that Sonic in this game wields a sword, or Excalibur to be specific. Not only is this cool enough on its own, but he also gets a sick golden armor set. Honestly, it's one of my favorite Sonic forms in the whole franchise. However, the part of this game I want to discuss is how you use the sword, because the game was launched exclusively for the Wii, so they had to get creative with how one would swing a sword that felt natural. Well, I say creative, but they literally just stole a page out of Nintendo's book and gave you motion controls. Basically, you swing the Wiimote and Sonic swings the sword in game. Pretty simple. But the game they stole this from used exactly this, that being Twilight Princess. The game was originally created for the GameCube, but since the Wii was being released so soon, they created a Wii version of the game where they inverted everything to make Link right-handed for the motion controls, since majority of people are right-handed, and it would have been a little bit weird to swing a sword with your right hand and have it swing the other way. But either way, Sonic team took one look at this and decided, yeah, we need to do that. To be completely honest, the game isn't half bad. Sure, it's a blatant copy of Twilight Princess, but it can be its own bit of fun. You only run in a straight direction and can just move from left to right with the nunchuck joystick, and then you swing the sword at enemies with your motions. Yeah, it's simple, but it's simply fun as well. It kinda just feels right, you know? It's not everyone's cup of tea, obviously, but it is 100 times better than Sonic and the Secret Rings. And while that game is not a Zelda ripoff, I just need to quickly discuss how atrocious it is. You move with motion controls by tilting the Wiimote from side to side, but you can't turn around, so if you miss something then you're going to have to restart the whole level just to get it. It's like Black Knight, but so much worse. And while Black Knight isn't good either, it's at least playable and, most importantly, fun. In fact, none of these games, apart from Secret Rings, are bad. I'm just discussing why and how they copy The Legend of Zelda. And while we're on the topic of Twilight Princess as well, why not talk about the other, and significantly better, Sonic game that copied it? Sonic Unleashed is the great game. Not quite one of my favorite Sonic games, but still a good experience. From high-speed racing, especially with the newly introduced boost mechanic at the time, to fighting through hordes of enemies as a werehog, you can find a lot of fun in this game. And yeah, the werehog levels are definitely not for everyone. They can still be enjoyed in some way by someone. And these werehog levels are exactly why we're talking about this game today. If you've played Twilight Princess, or at least know about it, then you know that Link gains the ability to transform into a whirlwind in the Twilight Realm, because he's protected by the Triforce of Courage so he doesn't become a spirit. And say what you will, but I actually really like playing as Wolf Link. It takes a new spin on how you traverse and observe Hyrule, plus I get to see Midna more often, and everyone loves Midna. So once again, Sonic Team saw this and figured it would be a great idea to take this concept. And boy, it is hard to go from high speeds to a significantly slower pace that matches a snail when compared to Sonic's normal speed, where you just fight enemies and slowly make your way through the level. And yes, it is fun, but it feels off in a Sonic game. At least in Twilight Princess, it didn't really ruin the pace of gameplay, as your movement speed isn't really changed. So yes, it's not bad, but could be much, much better. And this time, there's more than one thing that they stole from Twilight Princess. This may be a bit of a stretch, and I may just be making things up just to add some more things to the video, but whatever. But Chip reminds me a lot of Midna, just less likable and more annoying. I'm not hating on him, he's a decent character, but Midna has way more personality and is more involved in the story. And I'm sorry to Chip lovers, but he does not compare to Midna. Yeah, Chip could probably beat Midna in a fight, but does Chip become hot at the end of his game? Yeah, I didn't think so. Case closed. Wow, 2 Sonic games that copied one extremely successful Zelda game only to be shot in the foot by critics and fans? Never would have guessed. However, this would not be the last time. And I'm not talking about the Zelda level in Sonic Lost World. That was a collaboration, not a copycat situation. And I always felt that Lost World was more like a Super Mario 3D World or Super Mario Galaxy copycat more than anything else. So what else am I talking about? Well, only the most anticipated Sonic game of all time, and even one most anticipated game of the year in 2022. It is, of course, Sonic Frontiers. And this game, I'm all around mixed on. It is so much fun, don't get me wrong, and the music slaps. Well, that makes sense because it's a Sonic game, but it goes even harder here. And aside from completely changing how Sonic lore has been perceived and sending me into the sky the moment I touch a pebble, it's a great game. It's just unfortunate that my nitpicks have to hold it back. But how does this game copy Zelda? Well, yet again, it has copied one of the most popular and most successful Zelda games, Breath of the Wild. I'm sure I don't need to get into Breath of the Wild for you to know what I'm about to discuss. It was the first completely open world Zelda game, and gave Link many new abilities like climbing, parrying, among many more. And Sonic Frontiers is the first completely open world Sonic game, and gave Sonic many new abilities like climbing and parrying, among many more. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's only the beginning. There are also 4 huge mechanical monsters, much like the Divine Beasts. Yeah, the boss fights themselves are different, as they're actually fighting their machines instead of restoring them, but it's kinda hard to say that they were not inspired by the Divine Beasts at least. And then there's tiny little cute creatures that you have to find in the overworld, which you use to upgrade yourself when going to a larger version of themselves. Once again, the Coco are literally just Koroks. The only thing they really have going for them over the Koroks is being way less annoying and far more adorable. Other than that, just a ripoff. And then there's even helping out friends who are trapped as some sort of spirits. Sure, they're digital, but they're basically ghosts. And thankfully, they actually are present in the story, unlike the champions. Plus, these are characters we know and love from past games, so we have more incentive to help them. At least they can be helped and aren't completely dead. So while being similar to the champions, they don't even hold a candle to them because they don't grant Sonic abilities. But they're still copies, even if it is a stretch like Midna and Chip. Also, I feel like the cyberspace levels are a little too much like shrines. Same basic concept to find these entrances that take you to a place where you need to go through obstacles to get keys that help you get stronger. Also, guardians. Not saying they're the same, but it is rather funny that there are robots spread out across the land called guardians that are trying to kill you at all costs. Makes you think. Oh yeah, and there's also a big grassy field area that you start in, and then there's also a massive desert area and even a volcano one, as well as a teensy bit of snow. And as well, the story is very past-centric, with an ancient civilization using their advanced technology to fight an ancient evil that wants to take over the world. I keep finding similarities between this game and Breath of the Wild that I could just keep going forever. And once again, don't get me wrong, I like this game. Maybe even love it. I like all these games. It's hard to deny the fact that Sonic has taken way too much inspiration from Zelda a few times. And the fact that they led to some of the more beloved games in the series, that goes to show the quality of the games they copied. And hey, you could argue against this as much as you want, but the way I see it, the Blue Blur needs some more originality in his life. But that's not to say that it's Sonic Frontiers is the only game that has copied Breath of the Wild. There are many more, not really copying. Some like took inspiration, like Elden Ring definitely took inspiration from Breath of the Wild, but that didn't copy anything because it just took like the open world element. But then you get games like Immortals Phoenix Rising. That is like Greek Breath of the Wild. That's Breath of the Wild if it was Greek. I'm making a video on that at some point, so heads up for that. But that is literally Greek Breath of the Wild. And I feel like Sonic Frontiers is just another one of those games that falls into the Breath of the Wild copycat train, you know? So anyway, yeah, thank you, and I'll see you all in another time.
Also, to end this video off, I just want to give a quick shout out to Minecraft3448 for being the closest to guessing what this video's subject was, guessing Sonic and the Secret Rings. Close one, I did mention Secret Rings, but the video was not about Sonic and the Secret Rings. So yeah, good guess though, I applaud you. So quick shout out to Minecraft3448, and that'll be the end of the video. Thank you.
Hi, post-recording me back again. I forgot to mention this in my Sonic Frontiers segment, but the stamina wheel is a literal